Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's October 26th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And in the end, it's just a range day. Prices stayed, within lows around 21.25 and the highs around 21.40. I mean, that's a pretty good range, but you can see we actually closed this is a pretty good rally, but we still closed down. We had another big sell off. So really we were just sideways for the day. So um, there's a couple of trends in here. We had a spike and channel down. Then we had this move up, and this was right around, this is probably oil related. Lately the oil hadn't had a big impact on the ES, to be honest, but today it obviously did. I'm assuming that's what you'll have to contribute that to. It's when it came out, right around when the oil news came out. And then we broke above the highs of the day slightly, and it turns down. And we had a two-tiered channel working down, and then just really almost spiked back down. And what happened here, this is real common. You'll see this usually anytime you have a big news-related item, the market will almost shortly thereafter will reset again and start over. And that's all it did. It came back and it resetted about where the news started, and it just kind of reset and started trending up again. And it's amazing how often you'll see that happen. It's not always comes back as dramatically as this, but generally it comes back pretty quickly. But this was a pretty big rally here, so that's part of the reason why it came back pretty quickly. And of course, if you measure this move, I would call that the first move. And so you're looking for a measured move there, and that's basically the high. And you see we went maybe a tick higher, try to go higher a couple more times, and it sold off. So another thing coming down, I only use this shorter term. This looks like a spiking channel to me. However, you might have seen it like so. That might have given you a little more. It still doesn't really change anything, in my opinion. It might have given you a little more incentive to go short into this low, but I don't think I would have done that anyway. This is actually 4 o'clock in the night, in the morning here, so I doubt anybody's trading that anyway. So really, by the time I got here, this is really irrelevant over here. So, but if you saw this, it would have mattered based on the fact that we're going to make a retest here. So, and notice what happens once you got a break of the bigger channel. You had two legs down to a new low, and it reversed. So it might have been important to see it that way. If you saw it that way, not that you wanted to really trade this, but it would have given you some incentive to want to get short over here and know that after this two legs down, you might want to get long, try to start getting long. So that's the reason I wanted to mention that, because if you notice, if you use this trend line, that's your first close outside, and then you got two measured legs down to a new low, and prices reversed. So, so yeah, it might have been important to see it that way. That's the reason I wanted to point that out. I didn't play it that way. I was looking at the shorter term channel, the break, the new low, and then looked like we were actually trying to go sideways, but in the end, I think it's a spike down in the channel there as well. You could have seen it like that, and that's how I looked at it and played the shorter term trends within that. There's a little channel here. I didn't draw the other side, but you can see channel up, close outside, new high, channel down, close outside, new low, move up, close outside, new high, move down, close outside. It never could go lower again. And that may be because of the break of this channel and two legs to a new low, and then people were looking for it to reverse. So it doesn't really matter why it did. You always want to go with the price action, and you don't always get a retest. So especially on a range day. So just remember that always, I say this a lot, but I probably should say it more, is always follow the price action. If you start trending up, then go with the trend unless you get back into another pattern, because this is a trend up within this trend, and so you really don't want to be going long right there. Of course, you might have missed that early part of the move, but that's a news move anyway, so you probably want to be out right around 9:30 and not entering a trade. And then you got a chance to enter on it right here, and you would have caught this nice move up. So, but I don't recommend entering these first couple here because it's right at the news item. So I didn't mark any of that. It's not really a great setup anyways. But you can see from 9:30 to 10 o'clock. So in 15 minutes, you had a huge move up there. If you can get some of that or most of that, that's great. So anyway, let me back out. We'll talk about the trades, and we'll wrap it up for today. But you can see these trends, they look a little bit clearer once you back out to where you can see them a little better. But again, early on, we had this channel working down, and then you also had the other one if you looked at it like that. But a close, a new low, and then we had this channel coming up. But even if you didn't have this trend line, this is the first break, and you get a close outside a new high. If you saw it like this, you might have taken this trade here. So I'm going to mark that one. Oops. I'm going to make it green though, just because it's almost always better to wait on a lower high. Because a lot of times if you enter too early, you get burned. But there is a close outside there. This is a little bit tighter here. Right there, move to a new high, and that's a fairly bearish bar. So this one's close to being red. You could almost enter that one red, but it's been a little aggressive not waiting on a lower high. Lower high came here. It's not a perfect signal bar, but I still liked it because we pushed through the EMA, we pulled back, and we're really closing still right there at that trend line. And we're probably going to test these lows and all. And it actually just keeps trending down. Then you get, even though it didn't tick higher here, this is still a failed second entry long. It's your reversal pattern. It's still off the trend line. It confirms this trend line right here. So I still like it. Plus you're not back to the lows yet. You got pretty good room. It's a bit of a breakout pullback short from that congestion there too. So reasons to like that one. Pushes on down. It was really tempting to go long here. But we didn't quite have a new low in. It's kind of a double bottom. That's another reason I kind of like going long there, because it's a double bottom. But again, it's almost always better to wait on the higher low, just like up here, it's better to wait on the lower high. And so you could argue for that one to be green. I'll put it on there because it is a little bit, but it's a little bit aggressive. So I drew this trend line right here, and I like that one because there's that gap, and that's just like a new high right there. So and then you drag it down, and we're not quite there yet. But when it makes this higher low and a little bullish reversal type bar, you might enter there. The only reason again that I didn't like making this one blue is it's a failed second entry short too. Notice the new low, first entry, pullback second entry. But we didn't really push through the EMA yet though, so that it's still a reversal pattern, but it's not as good a one as if it was above the EMA there. So for that reason, it's still green. I don't like taking this one. We pushed through the EMA. We got a close outside. We had a little bit of an overshoot too, maybe. But it still plays out. It pushes up, makes a new high, turns down right off that trend line, gives you a little small bearish bar. Just go short there. And this turns out to be the trade of the morning almost. Quick, easy move down, and where does it bounce? Right where you'd drawn that line off the lows. And then it bounces. So now, if you're looking at this one, you got a break and two measured legs down to a new low. If you notice that, then you might want to take that trade long as well. And the fact that prices are consistently above and below the EMA, you can almost trade this both ways. So the only reason I didn't trade it both ways going up here is you just didn't have room to really do anything on these trades. So I didn't recommend really getting long in here, even though there's definitely some that you might like there. So we're just really going sideways, swinging back and forth above and below the EMA. And there's people that tell you there's a wedge right there. There's no wedge. What it is, you got a trend line working down, and you got a trend line working up, and prices are stuck between the two, and it looks like a wedge. But I don't believe there's any such thing as wedges. They're channels, and they're just converging. So anyway, you might have taken that one. There's a failed second entry short there, but you got to go long right into that upper trend line, and there's not much room to that trend line. You see it broke higher, and you would have got stuck. It turns back down, and then it turns up again, but it's right into the lines. You get a little trap right there. So I kind of like going short there, but because that's the main pattern. But I'm still a little leery of it because you got this trend line down here, but that's a failed second entry long too. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So I felt with that being off the trend line, I said there's no way you can skip a failed second entry long, and it got just enough to exit, and then it reversed. So and that's the way those things will do. That's why we like them, and that's why we only go for 4 ticks, because sometimes that's all you get out of it. And then it fails to go lower again, but you got to go long right back into that line. And so I don't think you can get long there. And again, that's right at the 9:30 news item. And look what happens. If you got long, it would have been a great entry, but I don't think you want to enter there. And this is not a very good setup here. It's a high or low. We overshot the upper side of this. You never know that it doesn't turn and go straight down again. So, but you set your trend line off of those 2 swings there, and let's see what happens. And then you're coming down, you get a close outside. It tries to go lower and gives you a higher low and turns up. And there's actually a second entry long there, is where you would have wanted to get long, but it's not a good setup, and you're still inside this trend line. You don't have a close outside yet. But when it makes this lower high here and gives you that bar, I like going long there, because it's somewhat of a trap. People thought they were going to go down again, and it traps them, and look at it take off. And so that would have been a good trade. And also, that's a failed, the failed second entry short is actually right here. And notice this is a new low. It's lower than that one. And so you get a first entry, then another leg up a second entry. And this would have got a scalp, but technically you still treat it like a failed second entry short. So you might even argue to go long right there. And so maybe I'll at least make that one green. It was real tempting, but I think you're better off to wait for the lower high here, and it comes right there. And there is a closeout side here of this too. Of course, this could be right here. It doesn't end up fitting up there later, and it doesn't really explain that higher bounce right there. So I really think it's like that, and that's your closeout side. Your move to a new high, and then it goes sideways. You get a little push up, and it fails. And again, it's tempting to go short right there, but this has been a big rally, and it is 2 legs up. It's a measured move. So you could argue for that one to even be green right there. Little small 2-tick bar. Very low risk. So if you want to be aggressive, that's a good place, a good ways away from the EMA. But with that stuff still hugging that EMA or trend line right there, I'm a little leery of it. Wait for the lower high, which comes here. Fairly bearish bar. You still got a little room there. Then you get the true failed second entry short. Definitely want to go short there. This one, it's right off the trend line again. It's a little small bar. This is really your signal bar, and it's too bullish. But you might go short below that one, but your stop still got to go above this bar if you do enter there. It wouldn't have mattered. It still took off and went lower, and it would have never even attempted to run your stop, but it would have to go above that bar right there. That's technically your signal bar. This is like a little second entry or second opportunity entry with just a little small bearish bar there. And then it pulls back again. I like this one because this one, it went higher first and then turned and went right out the other side, right off the trend line. And this is one where you can't wait on second entries because the channel's not big enough. This time it looks like a little channel. When it went lower, I want to put one down here in equal distance, and lo and behold, it's an equal distance down, and that's where it bounces. So that would have been, once it went through there, that's what I'm looking for. But I like going short there. It's just a repeat of these others. Big bearish bar. This one was close to the low, so you might let it break lower and drop a limit order a tick or so in. But if you get too conservative, you might miss it, and you would have missed this whole. You might have missed this whole trade. And then it bounces here, but of course you want to draw that trend line right there, because that's like at first I'm only looking for prices to come to here and then probably bounce. But you still got to draw that trend line and wait for it to play out. When it turned down right off that one again, I like going short there, just because it's off the midline. And so now I'm thinking, yeah, this is a two-tiered channel. It's pretty bearish. I want to try one more move down, and you don't expect it to do this. I really thought you'd scalp out here and it'd be over, but the bottom falls out of it. So depending on what your entry was, you probably wouldn't have kept a runner off this one. You would have had to get it up here. So you probably may not have been able to catch all of this move down, but you could at least got a little more right here, if you wanted to. And if for some reason your chart was slightly different, you might have caught a runner, I don't know, and ridden this all the way down. And even then, I would have probably been looking only once it even went lower. I'm going to measure this, so I'm only looking for the measured move right here, and you see it pushed on down even further. But I don't think you want to enter. You don't want to enter that when you're going sideways. That's a doji. It drops down, it pulls back, it gives you a breakout pullback short. But now you got to close outside. Fairly bearish bar, and you can't go low right in. Can't go short right into the low. If you let it break lower and you drop the limit order back where you originally would have got filled, it still doesn't even give you enough room. So I think you just have to skip those. You do have a closeout sign, a new low, and we're way overshot the channel. So again, you might have considered being aggressive there. I didn't want to mark it, but I mean, really looking at it, you can't hardly argue with it. It's a long way away from the EMA, big bullish bar. I mean, I love those setups because, and if you caught this, guess what? You catch the low of the day, the lower of the afternoon, and you can ride that all the way up. And notice how bullish that is. It goes right through the EMA, pulls back, and it tests that area right there. And so when you get that, you want to draw that across there just in case. And really, you could have had this line right here before that got there. You draw that line off these highs, and you probably would have had it here, but when it bounced right there, I would have drawn it up or pulled it up, and you could see we're just bouncing on down that line. And this makes a lower high here. If it would have ticked lower, it would have been a reversal pattern, but I still think you can treat this like a reversal pattern when it's a second entry because it's a lower high. And so I like that one. And where price is probably headed back to test the trend line, first to the midline and then to the trend line. And so you're looking for prices to go higher here, and then it pulls back and it bounces right off the EMA, right off the trend line, and that's your failed second entry short for sure. And nice bullish bar. You may not have been able to catch that. It moved pretty quick, but you want to try to get in right there. It's late in the day, so but it's still within our trading parameters. It's a reversal pattern. It's failed second entry short. Prices are probably headed to here, and that would have been an easy trade. So it's almost a no-brainer right there, even late in the afternoon. So that's what I saw today. Again, excuse me. Again, in the big scheme of things, it is a range day. But this is a big range. And remember what we talked about, the news item taking prices up and then it pulling back pretty quickly and resetting and starting over right where it ended. And that's basically what you got. And that is very common. You will see that a lot. So, and what happens is people miss out on all this up, and then it starts to correct a little bit, and they say, well, I'm getting back in if it corrects, and they all start getting long here only to get trapped in the bottom fall out of it and go right back where it started. So just next time you see a big move like that during the news item, obviously if you can get some and there's a good setup, take it, but don't wait too late after two measured legs up and then start trying to get long and then wondering why suddenly you got trapped and, be thinking that, hey, if I can get some of this move off the news, I will if it's safe. But remind yourself that it's probably going to pull back to the original place it started and reset and start over again. And that's exactly what happened today. And I can show you that over and over on a big news item day. So keep that in mind. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and to wrap up our week tomorrow. Hope you had a great trading day. Um, but I'm out of here. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.